like casual PCs, and in this video I'm going to start a restoration of another PC. This time it's going to be an OEM PC this time, something that I kind of picked up a while ago. I was about to say very recently, but I was thinking of a completely different computer. I actually picked it up a while ago, and I just getting around to finally get into it. And the reason why I want to restore this one is because I don't know much about this computer model, besides the fact that it's a OEM and it's from 1997 and it runs Windows 95. And the computer that I'm restoring in this video is this beige monstrosity. This is a Dell Dimensions XPS D233, and I don't know much about it besides the fact that it's extremely dirty. I don't even know if it powers on and works, so I'm going to actually look it up to my monitor, keyboard and mouse, and see if it at least posts, which I don't know if it will. It should, but one of the reasons why I want to restore this is because when I googled this thing, I can't get a lot of information on the specifics of the D233. I can make some assumptions based on, because the thing about Google's awesome. If you're into the retro PC community and you need information on a computer, Google is your friend, because you can get forum posts, get links to chat rooms and that kind of stuff. But the problem is that there's too much information you have to sift through. And one of the things about this is there was apparently 4 models of the Dimension XPS D line, 233, 266, 300, and 333, which I believe corresponds to the CPU speed of these machines, which makes sense because in the 90s, mostly everyone was doing some sort of hardware in the name. Compaq was doing it, Dell was doing it, Gateway did it. So I'm assuming this has a 233 megahertz Pentium 2. That's all I know. It has some sort of graphics card, I don't know yet. So we're going to take it take it over my bench, get a good look at it. I'm going to plug it in and see if it posts, and then we'll start the disassembly and cleaning and see if we can make it work. All right, let's hit the power button and see what happens. Oh, it's posting. Okay, so Phoenix BIOS 97 4A4LL. Okay. Pentium 2 233. Okay. 31. Okay, it's 32 megabyte. System BIOS shadowed. Address. Okay, so the hard drive's detecting. CD-ROM drive's detecting. Check taking type settings. System CMOS, check some bad default configuration. Okay. So let's go into the setup and see what we got. Oh no. Oh no, we have a password. I can't, oh no. Well, that's not good at all. Oh, but I didn't catch what that said, but I think that actually said the video card information. Did it say NVIDIA? Cool. Hard drive light is flashing, so it is actually trying to access the hard drive. Okay, so we're just going to bypass this and go escape. Oh, great. Well, maybe I'll find a way to bypass that once I get this thing going. Alright, so let's go tear it apart and start the cleaning. Alright, set this back a little bit. So let's take a look at this machine here. The Dell Dimensions XPS D233. We have a unknown speed CD-ROM drive, floppy, power reset. We have the, see if I can get in shot, the Intel really cool Pentium 2 logo with MMX. and designed for Windows 95. I don't actually see that too often on my computers. All right, so on this side we've got beige, and on this side we've got, you know, gross filth. Yeah, just look how filthy this thing is. This is just absolutely disgusting. Just disgusting. Okay, so on the back, shot of my cluttered workbench here, we have a, looks like a normal, well, I can't tell until we get apart, power supply. There's a cooling fan right here. I don't normally see cooling fans right here in these older computers. Normally, these are on the front. So, PS2 mouse and keyboard, 2 USB, I'm assuming 1.1, 1 serial. That's interesting. Normally there's 2. 1 parallel port for printer, game port, audio in, audio out, and mic. Which is interesting. It's got integrated audio. A VGA connector for a card. I'm assuming this is, well, it's down lower, so that's either PCI or AGP. Hopefully it's AGP. And a boring generic modem card. Alright, so let's get the side cover off and see what we got. How does this side cover come off? Oh, there's 2 little tabs here. Okay. And the overly braced side cover here. Okay. And we are dusty. That's going to be cleaned up. So what do we got? We have a Maxtor drive. I don't know how you come out. Looks like the front panel pops off somehow. Dirty ribbon cables, floppy, and a massive heatsink on that Pentium 2 with a fan point. God, it's kind of weird that's pointing that way, but whatever. The big copper heatsink. I don't see any bulging caps, which is good. Single stick of RAM, probably 32 megabyte from the BIOS. 2L or SL2HD 233 PX2. Okay, so yeah. And there's the video card. AGP of some kind. And the modem card. Okay. Let's get it down so I can get a better look at it. Grab a screwdriver. I'm going to take this thing and get the dust all blown out of it, but I just want to see what these are. It looks like a generic, run-of-the-mill Sportster from US Robotics, copyright 1997. Okay. 1 modem card. And, ooh, dust on the back, but the front looks really clean. Dell Velocity 128 with the Riva 128 chipset. So this is the same video card. Well, chipset anyway, that I put in the Windows 95 game PC I built a while ago. God, that's dusty. Oh, and I see a problem. It's not this. Yeah, 32. Assuming this is a 32 megabyte stick of RAM. Okay. Get the brace out for the CPU, so we can pop this thing out so we can admire this. This is something to be admired. God, look at the size of that heatsink on this. Why would they just put a fan on it? But I suppose. So I'm going to get this taken off and new thermal paste it. Okay, so we have a CD header right here. Okay, so here's the problem. And if you're into vintage computers, you know exactly what I'm talking about with the Dell thing. For you that are new, Dell liked about 97 to I think 02. They loved using this proprietary nonsense, where it's technically an AGP style connector, but it also has this little auxiliary power connector here, which is a remnant from the old AT days. Don't know why Dell did this. This was so annoying. Okay. I don't know what the chipset is yet. There's the BIOS. So we have 2 ISA, 4 PCI, 1 AGP, shared slot here. There's the BIOS battery, which needs to be replaced. Yeah, I'm not sure what chipset it is yet, but no leaky caps. That's something I'm happy for. All right, so what's the integrated audio? Am I reading that right? YMF 715S with a general MIDI chip. Whoa, this has got a legitimate OPL chip on it. I don't know if it's 2 or 3. I'm assuming 3 by this vintage, but so I'm not sure how to take the board out yet, so we're just going to keep taking stuff apart until we do. Looks like it has a proprietary front header. That's fun. All right. We have a Maxtor 66480D6, which matches what the BIOS said. Manufactured date 1 of 98. So could this have been replaced at some point? I'm not sure how big it is. Keep that safe. Yeah, this is one of those stupid Dell OEM power supplies with the... Why they did this, I don't know. There's no reason for it. But it does have a negative 5 volt rail, which is good. And it's 200 watts, so that's kind of overkill. Okay, one board. That is a really weird way of holding the board in, but I suppose it does help with serviceability. But yeah, all the caps are good, which I'm happy with. And yeah, that is definitely a Yamaha OPL chip with a general MIDI chip. So I'll have to look at that. So I think I'm just going to call that good. I'm going to go take this outside and take an air compressor and blow all this out, wipe it down, take all the blocking plates off, clean up all the parts, scrub it, and then we're going to get Windows, hopefully Windows 95 reinstalled, and then I can figure out how to get the password bypassed so I can see what's on here. Probably personal information, so I'll have to wipe it out. But yeah, see what happens once I get this thing all cleaned up. Okay, while everything's drying, I thought I'd take a look at the parts real quick and kind of talk about some oddities that I've noticed and things that aren't so oddities. Just because it's kind of an interesting design this thing has. So first off, talk about the board. Standard, run-of-the-mill, slot 1, ATX form factor. We have the AGP 1X slot here, 4 PCI, 2 ISA. Whoops. This one's a shared slot, which I talked about before in the Windows 95 build. And I think the Gateway G6 166 build, or G5, P5. I don't know, it's been a while. Slot 1 CPU, 3 DIMM slots, 2 IDE channels, floppy, the proprietary power supply connector, I'll get to that in a second. And underneath this brace is a 440LX chipset, which is not as desirable or as sought after as the BX chipset. This has a 66 megahertz bus speed motherboard, which means it can only use 66 megahertz RAM, or technically it can also use, I believe it can use PC133, but it's clocked down to 66 megahertz, so you don't gain anything except for higher capacity, which this one is a 32 megabyte stick. This board can only use 66 megahertz front side bus Pentium 2 slot 1 processors. This one is 233 megahertz, which means this is a little bit weaker than the Windows 95 computer I built. Because that's a 266, it's a 233. But unlike that board can only support the 233, the 266, and the 300. This one actually, from limited research I was able to find on it, because the dimension line wasn't marketed to home users. It was more marketed to small business. Can use 4 processors, 233, 266, 300, and there's a 233 megahertz variant that will work in this. I have a 333 megahertz, but I don't know if it's the correct variant. There was 2 or 3 different ones. One had a 66 megahertz frontside bus, one had a 100 megahertz frontside bus with a different clock multiplier, and one was a weird hybrid style. But yeah, so this one I'm going to put right back to factory and use the 233 with this massive heatsink. I don't know why Dell did this, but it does explain this auxiliary cooling fan that was on the back of the case, which was mounted this way inside the case, so it was pretty much drawing air across these cooling fins to keep it cool, which most OEMs didn't do this. They either used the cooling fan in the power supply and a cooling fan on here, or they just had this passively cool because it didn't get too hot because it wasn't too of a demanding processor. This board's actually fairly interesting because one serial port where there should normally be an integrated, either another serial or integrated video, but there's not, which isn't too surprising given this time frame. 2 USB 1.1s, PS2 mouse and keyboard, parallel, game port, integrated audio, and that's the interesting thing. So I kind of got interested because I kind of looked these up. This is an actual OPL3 chip that has support for direct 3D sound, and this is an OPL4 MIDI controller for producing MIDI sounds. So this, on an audio level, is actually very, very, a very good board. It's odd that it's on an OEM board because most OEM boards at this time was using either budget Crystal or ESS audio, or they were using budget like Sound Blaster Vibra chipsets like the Gateway P5 166? Yeah, 166 that or 266 that I restored earlier. So now let's get to this power supply situation. And this is where people bash Dell hard during this time. Standard 20-pin ATX, and then you have this weird auxiliary connector here. This is actually a remnant of the old AT style motherboards that had the 2 5-pin connectors, or 2 6-pin connectors. I don't know why I said 10, I was thinking of something else. Dell started using this about this time frame, about 96, 97, and went up until about 2002, 2003. And you have to use a power supply that has both the 20-pin ATX and this auxiliary connector. Otherwise, you run the risk of damaging this board, which is why a lot of people bash this era Dells, because you have to use the proprietary Dell power supply that it came with, which is already, most of them are underpowered for any high-end use. Or you have to have a power supply that has, again, the 20-pin ATX and that little weird adapter. Or you can use a standard ATX, but you have to find the, I think it's called like a 20 ATX to Dell, and it actually breaks the 24-pin modern power supply into something this board can use. It's a very strange design. And the integrated OPL chips here are really interesting because, low-end, most OEMs didn't use high-end parts like that. But with this being a Dell Dimension, which was Dell's mid-range line, that's not too surprising because they probably wanted to make sure that there was at least enough power for any business use. I don't know what business use would use MIDI and OPL3 FM synth, but whatever. I'm sure something did. But this is also an XPS, which I think is one of the earlier XPSs. And XPS during this time stood for Extreme Performance System. And, well, it was the 90s, so these dropped the E, which made it more extreme, because it was the 90s. So this is actually one of the earliest, if not the earliest, XPS system. Which does explain another thing. The video card. So this is a Dell Velocity 128 AGP, if it would focus, which uses the Riva 128 chipset. So this is almost identical to the V330 that I popped in my Gateway board powered Windows 95 gaming machine. 4 megabyte of RAM. So this thing should be clocked the same. I don't know if Dell did any weird things with the clocks. I don't think they did. But it is interesting because I do want to benchmark this against that to see if there's any clock difference and to see if there's any performance difference. Hard drive is a, I think this is a 6.4 gigabyte drive, which in 1997 was actually decent amount of memory or storage. Hopefully it works. I mean, when I post tested it, it locked up from a password, but we'll find out. And, well, this is the most boring part. The US Robotics 56K modem, not a sound card at all. Specifically, it's a Sportster 4867. I'm going to put this back in because I have no use for them besides putting them back in OEMs. So, all right, let's try and get this machine back to put together, and we'll get a new battery, fire it up, and see what's on it. All right, and we're all back together. I still have the side panel off because I actually was doing some research over the past few days. It's taken me about a week to get it put back together, mainly because I had some stuff going on. But there's a jumper right here, and Dell apparently on these XPS systems, because these were marketed towards businesses mainly. There's a security feature so that if for any reason this thing lost its CMOS power, it would lock it with a password. So what I had to do is move this jumper from normal to configuration mode, which should and awesome. God, that glare. Configuration mode. Okay, why is it saying 133? Did I do something wrong? We'll see what happens when I get done with this. Error, check date and time. Okay, well, that's right, because it says the 233, but clear all passwords. Okay, so now it should be fine. Okay, why is it saying 133 Pentium 2? Okay. Maxtor drive, secondary IDE, CD-ROM. Plug and play. Power management enabled. Boot. First boot removable devices. This has USB boot ability? On a Windows 95 machine? Well, I guess it was 1997, but still, okay. Well, I'm not going to do nothing here. I'm not going to change nothing. Okay. Power off. Move this jumper down back to normal mode and see if this thing works. Okay, there it's reading right. XPS D233, version A05, 32 megabyte of RAM. It's probably gonna give me a date and time setting because I did not put a CMOS battery in here yet, which hopefully that's not a problem. And hopefully there's no password on the hard drive. Okay. Further than before. Dell OEM. That sounds awesome. Okay, so I don't know what personal information is on here because I never checked. So if I just suddenly cut, it's because there was some personal information on here that can't be shown. Found new hardware. Oh, maybe because I unplugged everything. Oh, for the monitor, duh. And floppy drive sounds a little bad, but not too much. That's a little quiet, but ooh. That drive might be on its last legs. But it is booted. Good point. Nope. Yeah, that drive's dead. Okay, I've gotten it to work for a few seconds. I don't know if it's going to be stable. Okay, looks like it's doing something. Must be a lot of junk files on this thing. It's taken forever. God, look at all these icons. God, where's your desktop management? That hard drive isn't the prettiest sounding thing, but it is still working. Okay. Now we got some control back. Ooh. This thing was connected to some sort of SCSI device. But I don't see it. But there was nothing inside the computer when I tore it apart. STB velocity 128. 65. Oh my god, there's something chewing up memory. Doesn't sound too bad though. What does Real Jukebox do? Your digital music center. Guess this thing is working for the most part. I am going to maybe track down another CD drive. Okay, so this has a CD player function. Download of the day, Jude Cole, More Than a Breakup Song. Oh my god. Queen Bee. What? Madonna. Oops, I did it again. Oh, this is such a time capsule. Oh, this is so cool. Ice Cube. Oh my god, this is so cool. This is a nice little time capsule, because I don't know when this stopped, but... Okay, while browsing through some of these files, I found a Yamaha folder. Where did I see it? Right here. I wonder if these are the... I wonder if this is the software for the OPL3 chip. It is. That doesn't sound too bad, actually. Nice. Oh, we have some controls of FM. Okay. Interesting. What about the MPU MIDI out? Ooh. That actually doesn't sound too bad. About the soft wavetable. So this is interesting because this actually has really amazing sound. I don't know how it would compare to a Sound Blaster, but all right, and one nearly fully restored Dell XPS D233. So the weird thing about this machine here is the Dimension line was kind of Dell's mid-range. They weren't budget home computers, but they weren't high-end workstations. But these were kind of marketed towards small business, home office, but not home, like budget use. Kind of, it was a weird marketing thing. And the XPS, this is actually one of the earlier XPSs. So now, since I did a little bit of research on this, and now I know why this thing has the it explains why this thing has the Yamaha chip and the Velocity 128 focus. Velocity 128 video card. This thing had to have some performance in order to kind of stand out against its competitors a little bit. And it does sound awesome. That Yamaha FM synth chip sounds amazing from the one song I played. I say nearly done restored because physically it's restored. Everything's cleaned, everything's dusted. I got a nice scrub job on it, and it looks fantastic, especially compared to what it was. I'm a little iffy on that hard drive because it kind of failed on me. I kind of unplugged it, replugged it back in. It started working just fine. So I don't know how long that hard drive is going to last. I'm going to see if I can track down or at least go through my parts bins and find a smaller capacity drive I can pop in here. That's IDE. Because I'm also going to need to take a lot of time and see if I can find all the drivers. Especially the Yamaha drivers for the OPL3 and General MIDI chip, and that soft synth program that was playing everything. Because I have a feeling it's going to be a bit of a bear to track down, mainly because, again, since this wasn't marketed for home use, a lot of the business class and enterprise class machines don't have a huge amount of documentation on them online. You can find them, but a lot of times it's kind of buried. Like a lot of the information I got on the system here was it kept giving me information from the entire XPS line from 97 to about 02. There were a lot of different motherboard options, a lot of different processor options, internal options like video cards. Some had dedicated sound cards. Luckily, the OEM power supply here functions just fine. I don't have to try and track one of these oddballs down. Cooling fan worked just fine because the processor never really got warm. I really wasn't pushing it, but it didn't really get warm. So, physically, this thing is restored, and I'm going to say it's done. I'm not going to say this is a part one or nothing because, technically this thing will be brought back out once I find the right hard drive and I find the right software and drivers. I think there's a Dell OEM version of Windows 95. And hopefully then I'll be able to run some benchmarking against all the other machines that I've got that I have restored so far. Just see where this thing sits and compares, especially to my Windows 95 machine, because that's going to be interesting, because this has got one speed slower processor, but the same amount of RAM, same video card, and integrated sound, which might affect performance, but it shouldn't really. But, yeah, So if you like this video, put your comments down in the comment section about if you've used one of these machines, or if you know somebody that's used one of these machines, or if you even have one of these machines. I'd love to hear your experience with these things, because with it being, the mid-range, it's kind of, one of them interesting machines that's got more power than it needed to, but not enough power that it was a workstation. Hit the like button if you like the video. Subscribe if you want to see more content, and hit the notification bell, because YouTube's algorithm has kind of been screwy lately, especially on my end. So with that being said, look forward to more restorations, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. Thanks for watching.